What's going on, brothers and sisters? Chris here from Namaste Gaming, and this is the first of 3 commentaries I'm going to be doing discussing Neverwinter's second beta weekend. I've been following this game for a while now, but this was my first time playing it, so while these videos will definitely get critical, remember that these are my first impressions and not a review, and always bear in mind that beta is beta and things may be quite different by release. So, let's have a quick chat about the new player experience. When you first log into the game, you'll be faced with choosing a server and creating a character. Pretty standard MMO fare, right? Then you get to this screen. Roll stats, choose a religion. Where am I from and what's my backstory? I don't know, I just picked stuff that sounded cool, and while I'm sure there are people who have read every Neverwinter book cover to cover and are grizzled veterans of Faerun, I'd be willing to bet there are more people like me who have read a few of the books and decide to be a seasoned adventurer from Baldur's Gate who worships the dude with the scales as his symbol because justice. It could do with some explaining is what I'm trying to say. I'm a giant nerd and I will research the crap out of this stuff to figure out what the point of it is, assuming there is any beyond just flavor, but I know most people aren't going to want to do that, and the game certainly doesn't give you much in the way of hints. Everything else about character creation is pretty decent. There's a good selection of races, and it looks like more are going to be added, and they've already revealed that they're launching the game with 5 classes and implementing more regularly, although they haven't specified whether they'll be added as free or paid content. Once you get into the game, it's a very straightforward experience. You have a magic, sparkly trail and mini-map highlights to guide you to quest objectives, and the game does a good job of letting you know how to equip items, handle yourself in combat, and interact with the environment. The combat is fairly intuitive, and the early solo quests are all linear enough to ease a new player into the flow of Neverwinter's dungeon crawling. For a brand new player, the first few hours of the game are great, giving you a gentle difficulty curve, slowly unlocking and explaining your class abilities, and feeding you gear upgrades at a steady pace. Overall, I'd say aside from the unexplained stuff at character creation, the new player experience is fairly well done. Your first time through, you'll learn enough to keep progressing through the game, and that's a new player experience done right. Your second and third and fourth times through, you'll be begging for a way to skip it, and that's subsequently less good. The only game I can think of offhand that gave me a similar feeling was DC Universe Online, which, if you're not familiar, makes you go through one of Brainiac's ships for about the first 15 to 20 minutes of each character's existence. Neverwinter's version makes you run the same 2 or 3 hours on each character, and for all I know based on my limited experience, that linear progression could go right until endgame. It doesn't matter what race, class, background, or deity you choose. You're shipwrecked, you help out against an assault on Neverwinter, you chase a bandit faction intent on taking over Neverwinter through a few dungeons. You won't really know how your class handles in combat for even a while past that, so if you roll a class that you're not fond of a couple of times in a row, well, there goes a few days just to figure out what you like. I really wish that they had gone for a more Guild Wars 2 style approach where each race or maybe each region that you can select in your background story gives you a different starting zone, and then the storyline could naturally lead you to Neverwinter. As it is, I have a really hard time recommending this game for people who like to have a lot of alts or are finicky about class selection. This is compounded by the fact that you only get 2 character slots by default. That means if you have 2 classes you kind of like, but you're not sure and you want to try a third, you're stuck either paying money for another slot or deleting a character. This will be less of a problem on release since you can always make 3 or 4 accounts, no problem, but for a game that makes you get so deep in before you know how your class handles, it'd be nice to maybe get 3 or 4 slots so that we have a better shot of finding a class we actually enjoy before hitting the giant brick wall of pay or delete. Overall, I feel like the new player experience works really well for players who like to just kind of pick a class and level the cap before ever picking up another one. But it's kind of inherently flawed as far as players like myself who like to have one of every class are concerned. For the first-time player, the linearity won't really be an issue, but it will rear its head on subsequent playthroughs, so if you're thinking about picking up a Founders Pack of some sort, I'd recommend contemplating which playstyle is more in line with your own, and deciding whether to spend your money or maybe wait based on that. That covers my first impressions of Neverwinter's new player experience. In the next one, we'll be covering the overall meat of the gameplay, the positives, the negatives, and what kind of role Neverwinter might fill in your stable of games. If you enjoyed the video, show me that like button love, and if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe by clicking the annotation in the upper right. If you were in the beta as well, let me know what you thought of the game in the comments, and if you weren't in the beta, let me know if Neverwinter looks and sounds like a game you'd be interested in playing based on what you know so far. Have a tremendous day, love y'all, and stay black.